There's a quiet war happening inside you. Not the kind with explosions, but one with whispers. Every day, a voice rises that says, take it easy. Stay comfortable. Play small. And if you're not careful, that voice becomes your identity. You've been told weakness is harmless, even natural. But what if it's a parasite? Feeding on your doubt, disguising itself as kindness, silently draining your edge? What if the real danger isn't what happens around you, but what you allow within you to grow unchecked? Inside you is a fire, not loud, but waiting. It doesn't roar. It waits for a choice. And today, it asks one thing: will you continue feeding weakness with excuses? Or will you finally starve it with action? Weakness is not some external enemy waiting to ambush you. It's the one you live with, the one you excuse. It grows in the small compromises, skipped reps, postponed dreams, half-hearted efforts, and soon, it becomes your new normal. That's the danger. Not that weakness shouts, but that it whispers. And you start believing that whisper is your voice. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises as comfort, shows up as distraction, justifies itself with tomorrow. And as the days pass, you forget the man or woman you once aspired to become. You settle. You smile through mediocrity. You scroll to feel something. But at night, in the silence, you feel the emptiness creeping in. You weren't always this way. You used to have fire. You used to rise with purpose. But the slow erosion of standards, that's what weakness does best. It doesn't break you with a storm. It wears you down with a drizzle. Drip by drip, it dissolves your clarity, weakens your will, numbs your inner drive. And one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. The spark has turned to smoke. You don't fall to failure, you fall to pattern, to routine, to comfort disguised as safety. And unless you disrupt it, unless you call it out for what it is, that pattern becomes your prison. The truth? Weakness doesn't need you to lose publicly. It just wants you to quit privately, to abandon your potential in the quiet moments when no one is watching. That's when it wins, not with defeat, but with your permission. You say you want strength? Then stop speaking it and start earning it. Strength isn't forged in applause. It's carved in silence. It grows when you honor your word. When you push through on days your mind is clouded. When your legs ache and no one's watching, and yet, you move forward anyway. Most people talk like warriors and live like victims. They dream of power but recoil at pain. They seek greatness, but flinch when it arrives dressed as effort. That's not strength. That's performance. And performance collapses when the stage disappears. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, betrayed, broken, burdened, never wrote for fame. He wrote to battle the weakness in himself. His pages weren't poems, they were commands, declarations, war cries. Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. Not because it sounded noble, but because it was necessary. You don't rise by inspiration. You rise by repetition. You build the muscle of resolve through early mornings, quiet sacrifices, lonely victories. And you win not in public, but in private, where no one claps, but your future self watches closely. Discipline is not punishment. It's preservation. It's self-respect. It's war against that inner voice that tells you to settle, to soften, to delay. And you kill it not once, but daily, moment by moment, with choices that cut deep. That's how strength is born. And that's how weakness dies. Weakness doesn't need you to collapse. It only needs you to settle, to keep saying I'm trying while you quietly avoid discomfort, to convince yourself that average is acceptable, that numbness is peace, But it's not. It's erosion. It's quiet decay. It's life lived in grayscale when you were meant for fire. One day, life will knock, urgently, relentlessly. It will demand courage, clarity, force, and if you've spent years feeding comfort, you won't have what it takes. Not because you're incapable, but because you've been rehearsing defeat. You'll feel it late at night, the pain of regret, the knowledge that you could have become more, but didn't. That you traded growth for ease. That you avoided the discomfort that was sent to sharpen you. And worst of all, you'll believe the lie that it's too late. That the chance to rise has passed. That's the trap. That's weakness's final move, to convince you the fight is over. But it's not. It never was. The mirror doesn't lie. Ask yourself, where am I soft? Where am I making excuses? Where am I shrinking while pretending to be strong? The weak turn away from these questions. The strong answer them. Raw. Painfully. Relentlessly. Because true transformation begins with truth. With the refusal to deceive yourself another day. You don't destroy weakness by shouting. You destroy it by deciding. Over and over. In private. In silence, by showing up when no one else would. And when you do, it changes everything. You weren't built to bend. You were born to burn brighter through resistance. This fight, the one inside you, it isn't a punishment. It's preparation. It's a call to rise. Not when it's convenient, but when it's crushing. Not for applause, but because your soul demands it. And the only way out is through discipline, through truth, through war with every excuse that ever held you back. You want freedom? Earn it. You want clarity? Create it in the fog. You want strength? Prove it in silence. This isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. About killing the weakness daily, quietly, without need for praise. About rising when it would be easier to stay soft. About deciding, again and again, I will not betray my potential. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for a sign. You are the sign. You are the spark. You are the fire. Start now. Stay sharp. Stay strong. And when doubt creeps in again, and it will, smile. Because you've trained for that moment, and you're ready. Kill the weakness. Rise with purpose. Forge the unshakable version of you. And never look back. The greatest enemy is not fear, it's familiarity. The comfort of staying the same. Of telling yourself, this is just how I am. But that's not who you are. That's who you've accepted. The mind adapts to what it rehearses. Repeat excuses, and they become your truth. Repeat action, and they become your identity. That's why your rituals matter. Not just the big wins, but the daily moments when you could choose average, but don't. That choice, repeated, becomes a kind of inner gravity. A new default setting. And it's in those moments, brushing your teeth when tired, standing tall when you feel small, doing what's right without being told, that your real power is shaped. Stoicism was never about suppressing emotion. It was about mastering response. To not be owned by your thoughts, but to train them. To not be dragged by your feelings, but to channel them like a current. If this message stirred something within you, don't ignore it. Let it be a signal. A gentle call to return to who you are beneath the noise. Not for perfection, but for peace, for presence, for purpose. Subscribe not to follow someone, but to walk beside yourself on this path. We rise stronger. Together. Silently. Steadily. Stoically. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about unbecoming the layers of softness that were never truly you. Each disciplined act is a step back home, to the version of you that chose resilience over reaction, purpose over pleasure. That version is not an ideal. It's a memory. A standard you've abandoned. Perhaps. but never lost. You don't need more motivation. You need memory. Remember the moment you swore you'd change. Remember what it cost you to stay small. Remember the fire that once woke you before the alarm. It's still there, dormant. Maybe. But not dead. And it will return with each decision that says, not this time. Not again. That's how the strong are forged, not with grand gestures, but with grounded conviction. Not with volume, but with vision. And now, the choice is yours, fade or forge. If these words made you pause, even for a moment, then something within you is stirring. No need for noise. No need for declarations. Just a quiet knowing that you're on the path. If you need a place to keep the fire alive, to be reminded when weakness whispers again, then stay. Subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because this time, you're choosing to continue. And this time, you're not walking alone.